What's going on there, monkeys? Welcome to the next episode of Lake George Amusement Park here at Coaster Monkey Studios, where we are building a realistic American amusement park in Planet Coaster. And what are we doing in this episode, you may ask? Well, we're going to be wrapping up that employee parking lot we started in the last episode, and we are going to be building the infrastructure surrounding the delivery lanes, our bus lanes, some bus parking, and handicap parking. And stick around to the very end, because what we're going to be doing is our very first bouts of Neature as we kind of set the stage for what the foliage is going to look like around the park and around the coaster and whatnot, and kind of start to choose our palette as to what the nature is going to look like. So stick around for that. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. Don't forget to like and subscribe down at the bottom below, and click that fun little bell icon. And if this is not your first time joining and you're a returning member, well, welcome back. I hope you guys are enjoying this series. You know, this series it's been a lot of work. I'm not gonna lie. So far, I mean, you're talking about maybe 3 months worth of work that I put into it, and I haven't really touched the park in probably over a month at this point, because I've been working on some other projects, which we'll get into in a little bit, and kind of what's been going on in the real world outside of Planet Coaster. But what are we doing right now? Well, we are just tidying up the edges of that employee parking lot, kind of setting the stage for what the Neature is going to look like underneath and around the coaster, and what the rest of that employee parking area is going to look like with boundaries. And we've got our security booth that we put in the last episode. So just really being mindful of all of this stuff as we're kind of building out the framework and setting the stage for what that's going to look like. Now here we've got our lampposts. Now these lampposts they're going to be in parking lot only. You're not going to see these lampposts in the main streets driving in from the tunnel or going in towards the parking lot, but only in the parking lot itself. And I thought this was a fun idea, using the temple snake tail temple tail. Well, you know what I mean. As the base for these lights. I mean, they're very realistic. You know, it's something that you would see in real life, you know, with the massive base at the bottom of these 4-poster lamps. Now, don't freak out, okay, because we're going to have a jump in a couple of seconds. We're going to use the magic of Hollywood and movie magic, and we're going to make a bunch of lamps appear in 3, 2, 1. Ta-da! We've got lamps. So I didn't want to bore you by placing a whole bunch of lamps, because Lord knows, apparently my series is extremely boring. Yeah, thank you. No. So yes, now we've officially wrapped up that employee parking area. It is done. We put a stamp on it. The only thing we have left to do there is now set up that main entryway for those employee buildings where that rotunda is, and we'll do that at a later time. But here we're wrapping up just what this street is going to look like. Now, we've utilized our track for the shuttle bus. That is our gauge. And I apologize if it seems like we're like skipping ahead a little bit, but it was a lot of line placing, and I didn't want to bore you with the line placing. My lord. But I wanted to show you this technique. So you place your one track, and then you place the second track next to it, and utilize that as your 2 lanes. So it works out really well for a good turn. If you're building like a double lane street or whatever the case may be. But it made it a lot easier for me. Maybe this is a technique that you guys could use for yourselves. But as this is pushing along, we're placing lines. Let's talk a little bit about what's been going on in the real world. What has Coaster Monkey been doing? Well, if you guys haven't seen them yet, I'll put a link up above for the vlogs that we've had going on. We've been now to 2 theme parks this year, or amusement parks, I should say. We went to Six Flags America, which was a really fun vlog. And we went to Six Flags Great Adventure, not once, but twice. And we did a Jersey Devil update just earlier this week. So definitely something for you guys to check out, which is super exciting. I can't wait for this weekend. So what's going to happen is this weekend we're going to go to Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. We're going to visit BGW Saturday and Sunday. And then I'll have a vlog most likely Wednesday next week. I think Wednesday's going to wind up being my vlog day in between Zoo and Lake George. And we'll talk about zoo in a little bit, kind of what's going to be happening there. Just get ready for that one, for those of you that do watch my zoo series. But yeah, so really excited about kind of what's been happening. But doing a lot of real world stuff. Worked on a blueprint just recently for Nerd Chacho for his Fundy Fun Spot Park. That's a link that I'll throw up for you as well up top, because it is such a great park that he created. And it's something that, I would love for you guys to see kind of his thought process on how to create a British park. His park is based on Fantasy Island, I want to say it is. I keep going to say Fantasialand, but it's not. It's Fantasy Island, I'm pretty sure. It's a park up in Skegness, and which has nothing to do with this park. So let's talk a little bit more about this park. So, what am I doing now? Well, what we've done is we've decided to create this parking lot here, and this is going to be, if you remember in the last episode, we talked about this street being where your trucks would come in and bring deliveries over to the employee buildings just inside of that employee parking lot. So what we needed to do is we needed to create a street that was wide enough for these trucks and also had structure around them, not so much as a loose road to drive in between cars or between fences, but we put up the road guards, we put up the turn signs through this road, because this road is not only going to handle your buses, which are huge, but handicapped cars as well as these trucks that'll be doing deliveries to the park. So we wanted to make sure that we looked at that as we were setting it up. And as you can see there, I cleaned up a mistake where for some reason I thought the buses would park laterally and not diagonally, or parallel, not parallel. You know what I'm trying to say. They're going on a diagonal. So we put all the buses at a diagonal, and we created 2 exits out of this area. One exit from the first area here on the right hand side, and then we create a second exit up by that crosswalk up on the top there. And the reason why we do that is to make it easier not only for the buses to get out, but also for the handicapped or disabled. I keep saying handicapped, but I mean to say disabled passengers or disabled park visitors. Make it easier for them to get out, so it's not too much of a hassle. And these hydro spots we put in our last episode as well. If you didn't get a chance to check out the last episode, definitely take a look at that, because we've got a link for these hydro parking spots. It's a TMTK item. It'll save you on pieces if you're making a parking lot. It saves so many pieces for you, and they're really well optimized too, so you don't end up with any type of a lag or anything because of them, which was pretty fantastic. Now for this area, what I was trying to do is I was trying to create a spaced out area with a lot of sidewalk around it for the disabled parking, and the intention was to make it very open. So not only would the cars that are driving through have a lot of road around them to drive, but we also wanted to make sure there was a lot of area to walk if you're walking with a wheelchair, or if you're walking with, your children who may be disabled or handicapped or whatever the case may be. We wanted to make sure that the whole area was really set up with a lot of space for them to, get around. Because it could be difficult to move through the parking lot. I've seen a number of times at amusement parks where families who may be using a wheelchair, have trouble getting through areas, even though they are to specification, quote unquote, it's still difficult for them to get through. So it's something that I was really trying to think about here when I was building out these disabled or handicapped spots. Now, as you sit back and look at this, you're going to think to yourself, oh my God, there's so much space around it. Well, that was the idea, you know? Again, if a car's driving down that road in between the spaces and there's a handicapped person in a wheelchair, it makes it difficult to get through. So we opened it up and gave it a lot of room, which was great. And in case you guys didn't know, that's where the buses go. So I toyed with the idea for these spots to have the big painted wheelchair sign on the ground. And I thought to myself, you know what? They're already blue. We're going to put up these signs up here. I didn't think we needed the ones on the ground. So I'm trying to think, you know, yeah, there is a lot going on here for this, you know, small, quaint American park. You know what I mean? So would it really have all of this? You know, and I'm trying to start thinking to myself, okay, this is already a lot. So how do I dial it back a little bit? So as we progress through here, let's talk a little bit about Discord. So we've been very excited, and we started our Coaster Monkey Studios Discord. There's going to be a link below to join that Discord. But I wanted to give a shout out to Planet X. Now, if you don't know what Planet X is, when I tell you they are... I mean, it's really the coolest thing I've ever seen. So this Discord, it was started by a few people that I know in the Planet Coaster community. And it's just killer. You know, they do these contests. They do these different ways that you can showcase your work. Like, for instance, right now we're in the first season, right? So what they've done is you can apply once you enter the Discord to be in a guild, and once you get in that guild, you then have a chance to work together as a team to gather as much points through the season, basically for the arena battle to become the planet champion, you know, which is really, really cool. So I'm part of Scientica. For those of you that don't know, it's the realism people. Super nerdy geeky. I'm totally a nerd geek, so I can say that about us. But yeah, you know, Planet X, definitely check it out. I'll put a link below in the as well. It'll be a standing link for you in every episode too. If you guys want to check that out, you can always come back to any of our videos and grab a link for that Discord. So definitely check that out. Now, as we come back over to our video here, one thing I wanted to notate, you're noticing a lot of road markings going in for this. And as we were talking about before, you know, this being a lane for those trucks to drive in, but there's also a lane for the trucks to drive out, as you see they're coming out of the employee parking, right? So we want to make sure that, you know, it's very clear, not only for the guests that are driving through, whether it be in the bus or in their cars, but also for those trucks to kind of know which direction they need to go to get around within the park, or within the parking lot, I should say, or the main road, the intra road. What would you call that? That would be the road driving in. So the inbound road. There we go. But a lot of things like this, like making sure that we're thinking about, you know, your guest safety. Like, what does it look like at the end of a walkway, or, you know, on the sidewalk that is next to the parking spots, or separating the parking spots from the lane where the cars are driving. So what does that look like? How does that, from a safety perspective, look like for your guests? So we want to make sure that we're thinking about all of these things as we're building out this parking lot. So one thing I wanted to bring up in this portion of the video was the light saturation. So as you notice, it's got a faint glow to it. It's not super strong. And what we've done is we've minimized or dimmed out that light saturation. And this is super important for the parking lot area, I think, just as much as anywhere else. But what I love, the look that you get with these 4 lamps, or 4 posted lamps, 4 posts, you know what I'm trying to say, is that you get that ghost-like ambiance of the lighting from a fixture. You know, I really love these fixtures for that. And something to think about when you are placing your light, specifically these lights for your parking lot. So if you guys haven't had a chance to, I know I mentioned it earlier, you should definitely check out the Blueprint series that we've got going on. I'll put a link up above. We've got a whole bunch of blueprints that we've built, not only for Lake George here, but we've also built, where we're building right now, and what we've got currently being built on this series is the arcade for Fundy Fun Spot, as I mentioned earlier. So you should definitely check that out. That's been a super fun build. Oh my god, the arcade was so much fun to build. You know, we did 2 separate arcades, a 70s arcade, we did a more modern arcade, and then we tied it all together with an employee parking area and a strip mall directly behind it. So that was super fun. So now here we are starting to think about what those sight lines are going to look like when we place this Neature in. So here's the thought process, and this is something I wanted you guys to kind of really look at as you're placing any type of Neature, right? So this particular Neature, my thought process is it was once a very well manicured area, right? It had very specific trees placed in very specific places. Same thing with bushes placed in very specific places. So what we did is we went through and we placed those in, and then we come back and we place the forest bushes and we make it a little bit more ragged feeling. We wanted to have a feeling of overgrowth, and that was the intention 100% here, right? How do you make it look like it was intentional but unintentional at the same time? You know, whereas it was a planter per se, quote unquote, because it's a giant planter basically, right? But then you come back and you create overgrowth to make it look like it's a natural growing environment that's kind of been created within this little area, or this little planter, if you will. So it's something we started looking at there. And you're going to see we come back and I like all of the green, but nature isn't all green. Real nature, you know, out in the wild, if you will. The wilds of nature. It is 100%, you know, spots of color here or there. So what I wind up doing is I wind up taking a tree. I don't remember the name offhand. I apologize. It's the big purple tree. But it gives a really great bush-like look to it when you dig it all the way down into the ground, and you're going to see that coming in a couple of moments. For me, I feel like it really tied the whole area together and really started to elevate that palette that we were creating, or we are creating, for this area. But again, if you look at the types of trees that I'm choosing and kind of their spacing and their layout, you know, these are the trees that we're going to have now be the quote-unquote nature that'll be surrounding the park, surrounding the lake, wrapping on the outskirts of the park, on the open areas within the park, because there's going to be a few open areas that are just grass with trees and bushes and it's going to look really nice at the end. You know, I'm super excited to kind of really work on the tree work. I mean, look at it. You're going to notice I throw in a lot of reshade moments too as I'm doing this, because I really want to make sure those sight lines are on point. And that's kind of what I was looking at there. It's like, what do the sight lines look like when you're driving through that road? And at the end, we'll give you like a really quick look on the shuttle. What does it look like as you're driving up that road, you know, with all of these trees in front of you, and the coaster and the fencing, and, you know, really ties everything together and creates a really cohesive look. And that's what you're looking to create, you know, really making sure you're covering every single stone, right? Or no stone unturned, or cross every T, dot every I, whatever allegory you want to use. That's kind of the ideology that we're going after here. You know, making sure that we're looking at every single detail. You know, I think that is probably what elevates, you know, builders from being mediocre to being exceptional. You know, by no means am I saying I'm exceptional at all. I don't think I'm at the exceptional level either. You look at somebody like Yuri, or you look at somebody like, you know, like a Mass Bandit, or oh my God, there are so many others. I can't even like wrap my head around it. Darren. He's building right now at Mystic Timbers, and his level of detail is so fantastic. It's mind blowing what he's creating, you know? And that's really what it comes down to. It comes down to hitting every single T and crossing every T and dotting every I. You know what I mean? Another great person to look at is Wix. If you look at Wix's stuff, I mean, his level of detail and clutter, but it's clutter that's purposeful. It's not things being placed just to be placed. It's things being placed mindfully. You know, why is this here? You know, like for instance, why are those 6 bushes there? You know, why are those 4 bushes there? Do you know what I mean? It's to create overgrowth, but to look like it was once manicured, and that's the ideology behind it. You know, and that's how you have to think when you're building. You know, why am I putting this piece here? You know, yes, it does take 2 times, 3 times, 4 times as long to create a build sometimes, but that's what gives you that elevated look and feel. Here goes that trick I was telling you about before by taking this tree. What is this tree? This is the Crimson King. So we take the Crimson King and dig it down, and it creates a nice variation in color. It really gives that pop of color, and I love the idea behind by having this little pop of color. And I almost feel like I want to come back and I want to throw some yellow in there as well to give a little bit more variation. But there you are with the reshade again. But to give a little bit more variation, and that's the whole idea, right? So as we wrap up this video, I'm going to get you some glamour shots of this area. Thank you so much for joining, guys. I appreciate you for joining. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this content, and I will catch you next time here at Coaster Monkey Studios. Thanks a lot.